Hello everybody from Plant Reviews. Today the 5th of September, so late summer, almost autumn, and I'll talk today about two beautiful varieties of genus of plant called Eucomis, and in particular the white dwarf Eucomis autumnalis, as labeled by tailors, even if according to most of the information found, including the Royal Horticultural Society's website, this plant actually should be Eocomis zambesiaca, and another variety that is the Eucomis Aloacona. Very peculiar flower for the inflorescence shape, but most importantly incredibly fragrant, in particular the Eucomis autumnalis, the Eucomis zambesiaca white dwarf, that is particularly fragrant of coconut, even if the coconut fragrance is also clearly you can clearly smell the coconut fragrance in the Eocomis Aloacona. Eocomis is a genus of flowering plant in the family Asparagaceae and the subfamily Psylloideae, and Eocomis species are natives to southern Africa. Most species of the genus are referred as pineapple flowers or pineapple lilies, and actually, in particular, in the Eocomis Aloacona, you can see why. Basically, the inflorescence, this dark inflorescence, is quite cylindrical, and you can imagine really the body of the main fruit of the pineapple that is adorned at the top by green bracts resembling the leaves at the top of the pineapple. So really, I think pineapple lily or pineapple flower is definitely apt to at least some species of the genus Eucomis. These plants are bulbous perennial plants, and they have, as you can see, basal rosettes of leaves. Unfortunately, these rosettes of leaves have been badly eaten by slugs and snails in my allotment, and from the center of the rosette basically originates the flower stem, bearing several dozens of flowers that are star-shaped. And as I said, the inflorescence terminate with green bracts, like a tuft on the top of the inflorescence. The genus Eucomis was first published by Charles Leterrier in 1789. Eucomis name originates from EU, that means in Greek well or pleasing, and the word come, that means hair of the head, in reference indeed to the fact that these plants have a very well developed kind of hair that is the green rosette of bracts at the top of the inflorescence. A dozen of species, so 12 species, are currently recognized in the genus Eucomis. Eucomis, as I said, is native to southern Africa, in particular to South Africa, Botswana, Lesotho, Swaziland, Zimbabwe and Malawi. Species of Eucomis can be found in a variety of environments like grasslands, forest, even swamps and riverbanks, but are absent from very dry regions. The smaller species are often found at higher elevation and at hilltops, for example, or very exposed places, while the larger species are found in habitats more stable, less exposed. Eucomis species are cultivated as ornamental plants, and like most bulbous plants from South Africa, they require, in garden conditions, particularly UK, very well drained soil and full sun. These are the requirements I usually try to keep for all my bulbous plants from South Africa, and I have to say that Eucomis respond particularly well to well drained soil and full sun. In particular, these two varieties bloom in particular the Eucomis white dwarf blooms every year. This plant I bought it just this year, the Aloacona, and I'm very happy that all the bulbs anyway bloomed in this beautiful spectacular flower display, as you can see. These plants, even if they are from South Africa, can be actually quite hardy in the UK. In particular, while in the previous 2 years I basically kept the bulbs of the Eucomis white dwarf in the indoors to avoid obviously winter wet and freezing conditions. Last year, unfortunately, I forgot, or maybe fortunately, I forgot the pot of my Eucomis white dwarf in the garden, exposed to rain and cold during winter. And when I realized it in early spring, I was very worried that actually the bulbs were damaged, but actually the bulbs were perfectly fine. So after uncovering them a little bit from the pot, I recovered them with the same compost, and they sprouted the leaves and bloomed beautifully. Some Eucomises indeed are hardy down to -10 degrees, but ideally the bulbs should be kept well drained. This is true at least for some species, because as I said, with the white dwarf I didn't have any problem this year, but this year anyway was not a very cold winter. Obviously, I don't think we had any freezing conditions other than maybe 0 or -1, and just for maybe in total maybe 2 or 3 days in the whole winter here in Kent. So it was a very mild winter this year. I do not know if this variety would have survived with temperature much lower and for a prolonged period, like we had 2.5 years ago with the beast from the east in the UK, the very cold spell we had in the UK. About these plants, they belong. The plant white dwarf is I bought it as a bulb from tailors. Eocomis bulbs are usually sold in spring and planted in spring, and they bloom between summer and autumn. Again, full sun and well-drained soil will make this plant very happy. Eucomis flowers all resemble basically more or less a pineapple. So you see this body of flowers on the inflorescence, this spike of flowers with a few leaves on top. However, the fragrance really varies according to the species and variety. In particular, some Eucomis do not smell at all, are not fragrant at all. Some others have a very bad smell. They smell really like of rotten meat or something. But these, in particular, these two varieties I have, are the best scented of all Eucomis. In particular, this one, the Eucomis white dwarf, that I bought as a bulb in a garden center, as 2 bulbs in a garden center from tailors. They smell really strongly of coconut. You can clearly smell it if you put your nose close to the flowers, the flower spike. The very a very strong coconut scent, really beautiful. And in the white dwarf, the flower are the white dwarf Eucomis, the flowers are white or pale green. This plant is sold by tailors as Eocomis autumnalis white dwarf, but as I said, the Royal Horticultural Society found out that probably this one is Eocomis zambesiaca. There is a species distributed in the wild in Malawi, Zimbabwe and South Africa. This plant in particular is very small, is about the flower stem reaches about 30 centimeters tall. Therefore, if you want to plant it in the garden, really plant it at the very front of the garden. I think it is great in a pot, because when it blooms you can actually bring it at home in a sunny window and appreciate the incredible fragrance from this plant. The flowers are pretty small, both in the Eucomis white dwarf as well as in the Aloacona, and they're about probably less than 1 centimeter in diameter, but they are born in clusters in the flower spike of several dozens. So while the ones at the bottom that open first fade, as you can see, the flowers in the middle start opening while the ones at the top are still in bud. So the inflorescence itself can last even 2-3 weeks, sometimes more, and you can enjoy the beautiful fragrance of the white dwarf for a while. The plant, I have this other plant that is called the Eocomis Aloacona, and this plant is a little bit different from the white dwarf. It is I suppose the size is pretty much the same. Yeah, I would say about 30-35 centimeters. The rosettes, anyway, the bulbs, probably because the bulbs were bigger, have bigger leaves, and they produced at least 2 spikes rather than 1 for each bulb. And the color is a very deep burgundy, as you can see, very nice. The fragrance, it smells also of coconut, but it is a quite subtle fragrance of coconut. If you're really looking for a coconut fragrant Eucomis, go for the white dwarf. That is, in my opinion, the best scented of all Eucomis, even if one of the smallest. The plants produce, after blooming, produce lots of seeds, and obviously they can be propagated by seeds, but this takes a while. Obviously, they need at least a couple of years before blooming. However, the plant multiply readily by bulb offsets that develop from the main bulb and can be replanted. And they will bloom in a much shorter time. Another option I found, but I never did it myself, is through leaf cuttings that, if kept in humid environment and well-drained soil, generate tiny bulbs in a few months. The leaves of these 2 plants are also quite beautiful. They have undulated margins, very bright green. So even if the main attraction of the plant is obviously the flowers, I think the leaves are also incredibly beautiful, unless, like in my case, you have slugs and snails feasting on them. But definitely in a pot, you see, especially if you plant the Eucomis in a large group, you see the display is absolutely amazing. As I said, these plants, I had good luck this year keeping my wonderfully fragrant white dwarf Eucomis zambesiaca, but you will find labeled as Taylor's, from Taylor's as Eucomis autumnalis, but anyway the variety is called white dwarf. In winter, outdoors, and it survived. However, if you live in a very cold area of the UK or in a very cold area and you want to keep these plants, I would rather go for the safe way to keep the bulbs just in a pot or in the garden from spring, after the last day of frost have passed, and lift the bulbs before the first day of frost comes around in the garden. I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you will enjoy the beautiful fragrance of this coconut scented Eucomis, in particular the Eucomis white dwarf. And if you like the video, please give us a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, obviously please give us a thumbs down, and it would be great if you can please write in the comment what you did like or you didn't like about the video. And if you would like to support my channel, would be great if you can please subscribe, and in this way you will get updated when I publish when I post new videos, and also you will support obviously my channel, as the number of subscribers is very important for YouTube channels. And in the meantime, I thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.